Most of us get married with a pretty simple goal in mind, right? To be happy. But what if that's the wrong goal entirely? In this explainer, we're going to dig into the core, pretty countercultural ideas from a book that dares to ask that exact question. So, we're diving into Gary Thomas's influential book, Sacred Marriage. And what it does is it proposes this really radical way of looking at what marriage is actually for. And honestly, it's a perspective that's managed to restore and re-energize so many relationships, all by challenging our most basic assumptions.
In this quote from Catherine Ann Porter, it hits the nail on the head. For the last couple of centuries, we've been sold this idea of marriage as this endless adventure of personal fulfillment. But let's be real. Anyone who's been married for more than 5 minutes knows it's not always an eternal springtime. And that leads us right into what the book calls the happiness trap. It's this cultural idea we've all absorbed that if your marriage isn't making you happy 24/7, then something is seriously wrong with it or, with your partner.
The book argues that the root of this trap is that we confuse two very different kinds of love. See, on one side, you've got romantic love. It's based on feelings, it's thrilling, but it can shatter under pressure. But then there's mature love, and that's a different beast entirely. It's based on commitment. It has to be able to stretch to get through the tough times. And it's not made in a fantasy, it's forged in the messy day-to-day reality of life.
And the author, Gary Thomas, gets really personal about this. He talks about how he started his marriage with this huge sense of purpose, praying, God change the world through us. But then, 10 years later, he finds himself just stuck in the routine of picking out a movie. It's so painfully relatable, right? It just shows how empty that happiness first model can feel when the initial spark starts to fade.
Okay, so if the main goal isn't just to be happy, then what on earth is it? Well, this is where the book makes a huge pivot and offers a totally different way of looking at things, with a really radical new question.
And here it is. This is the big, provocative question at the very heart of the book. What if marriage isn't primarily about our comfort, our pleasure? What if its real purpose is to change us, to make us into better, more mature, more selfless human beings?
Now, I know the word holiness can sound a little intense, but let's get really clear on what the book means here. It's not about being some kind of perfect saint. It's about character growth. It's the messy process of having your own selfishness put on display, having to confront it, and then learning how to be more patient, more forgiving, and more loving, all through the real, everyday challenges of living with another person.
And this brings us to a really crucial idea. All the struggles and friction we face in a marriage, they aren't a sign that it's failing. From this point of view, the struggles are the whole point. They're the very thing that helps us grow. Oh, I love this quote. It's so vivid. Marriage isn't supposed to be some cozy campfire. It's a merciless revealer, a giant searchlight. Its job isn't to help us hide our flaws, it's to shine a light on them, our impatience, our pride, our selfishness, so that we finally get a chance to actually do something about them. So the book calls marriage a crucible, a process that forges our character in 4 key ways. First, just living that close to someone reveals our selfishness in ways you just can't ignore. Then, it forces us to keep going when we really want to quit. It also gives us like a million opportunities to practice the incredibly hard skill of forgiveness. And finally, over time, it can totally change our perspective, building a heart that wants to serve the other person, not just be served. Okay, so I know this all might be sounding a little abstract. So the book gives some really powerful real-life stories to show what this looks like. Let's dig into one of them and see how this all plays out in the real world. This is a pretty shocking confession from a man named Dr. John Barger. He's admitting that for years, he was just a domineering husband. He used his power and even his religion to control his family. He was the complete opposite of a servant. But then, an absolutely devastating tragedy hit his family. His son was stillborn. And in that moment of just profound grief, holding his lifeless child, he realized he was at a crossroads. He could keep going down that path of anger and control, or he could choose a new way, the incredibly difficult path of learning how to truly love.
And his journey wasn't about some big, dramatic gesture. No, it was about a series of small, humble, and really, really hard steps. He learned to just hold his tongue, to start admitting when he was wrong and actually apologize. He stopped defending himself all the time. He tried to understand his wife's grief. And maybe most importantly, he started listening, not to come up with a reply, but to actually hear her.
And this journey led him to this incredible realization. He discovered that in learning to truly love his wife, with all that patience and humility and service, he was actually learning the very same virtues he needed to grow his own relationship with God. His marriage had become the training ground for his soul.
So if we boil it all down, sacred marriage offers this profound reframe. It asks us to stop asking, "Is my relationship making me happy?" and instead start asking, "Is my relationship making me a better person?" The goal totally shifts from just a quest for personal happiness to an opportunity for personal transformation.
And that leaves us with one last really challenging thought, one that goes way beyond just marriage. Think about all of your most important relationships, with partners, family, friends. What if the ultimate purpose isn't just about feeling good, but about becoming good? It's a pretty powerful idea to sit with.